Guys, thank you for joining me. I know that this is a really exciting initiative for you guys and BAE, and it holds a lot of different opportunities. So if you'd like to introduce yourselves.
So I'm Finbar O'Keefe. I'm the head of future software in BAE Systems Maritime and Land. And that broadly means that I'm charged with modernising our approach to software in the sector.
I'm Mike Knott. I'm the maritime advisor for BAE Systems. My background actually is in the Royal Navy. I was a warship captain, warfare officer, and then head of future capability for the Navy. So what I do with BAE Systems is start to think about what the threats from the future are going to be, where the market's moving, well, what the customers' needs are, and therefore how we as a company can adapt to those changes and start to develop relevant systems.
But I guess some people will be wondering about, what are you doing? Why are you doing it? So why don't we get into that a little bit? What's the idea and what value do you think it brings?
So I think, one of the key things here is we're being challenged all the time by our primary customers to be more innovative, to accept emergent and disruptive technologies that exist elsewhere in other sectors. And we see examples of. So in our lives, technology is making a difference. How we interact with technology now compared to 10 years ago, completely different. And that doesn't mean to say that therefore we've got all the answers internally. We need to go out to the market much broader to be able to understand how we can then apply that in. And we can then add the layer of military assurance on that. But it's that genesis of the technology and how we can engage with cross-sector that partnering up with Innovate UK is allowing us to do in a way that we might not be able to do otherwise.
And I think we've seen evidence time and time again with other sectors and organisations that partner with the likes of Innovate UK, that it just opens up that conversation outside, don't work in your business, go and work on your business. And this allows us to think about that in a different way. I mean, how do you read what you're doing and how do you want it to play out?
So I think across our business, we all recognise the need to bring different ideas and develop new ways of doing things and new solutions to problems and get those into our solutions. And I feel really strongly that involves creating a more open and more federated almost ecosystem of providers, suppliers, so that our solutions are in every way the best. We get to pick the best athlete. And I think we've got to be realistic as well, that we are being, in the same way that the MOD challenge us to be innovative, UK government are challenging us to interact and engage with small and medium-sized enterprise. So I feel really strongly that we're in the sweet spot of doing something that meets military needs, that addresses a gov agenda,
commercial needs,
exactly, as well as our own, and we mustn't lose sight of that. This isn't a case of us doing this because gov are telling us to, or because mod are telling us to. This is really a very positive, for mutual benefit activity.
And it's not anything, from my understanding of the program and the challenges and and from my understanding of the initiative and the challenges and all the things that are involved, this isn't exactly the most radical departure from what you guys have done before. But what it is being consistent in saying, we want to hear from other people, from different people. We want to bring those things in. And if I was sat in the business, I could only see it as a good thing. So how do you want the business, say we get some great ideas coming in off this initiative,
so
say we pull out a couple of winners, how will they play into the business? How do you want the business to react to them?
Well, so the first thing I would say is it is true that we talk about this a lot, this engaging with SMEs. I would say we are engaging with SMEs, so we are doing it. That's what this is about. And what comes out of the other end, therefore, won't be a piece of paper. What comes out of the other end is a technology solution. That's what we want. And I think whilst we're running this in maritime and land, we don't see this as a maritime and land exclusive activity. We see this very much as something that can feed the rest of the business.
You've got to start somewhere though, don't you? So you have your challenges and you say, look, we're open to this. But once these innovators start getting involved, And I think you gave me an example with Inquiring Minds and others, that you build that ecosystem that sits around you, and they can feed into all different aspects. And it's just being part of that ecosystem and being a really positive influence within that marks you out compared to your competitors when you're going in for those tenders and those bids as well.
It certainly does. So demonstrable, show, don't tell. But also that applicability across the multi-domain. We constantly hear a narrative about integrated multi-domain operations, and actually, when you pair it back the background technologies, there's a lot of commonality across it. The challenge is there's a lot of commonality across it. So pairing the two together just seems to make perfect sense.
I mean, it's always that challenge, though, isn't it? You start one of the things, and everyone nods and goes, "This is great. This is exactly what we want to do." And actually, the real value comes out of that consistency of doing it. You might not get the high five and the win straight away, but if people know that if they've got an idea for a solution for a problem that you've got, that they can come to you and you're open for that, you've just got more chance of solving that problem.
That's right.
It's however big you are, you haven't got all of the IP in the world, so it's you've got to go out in that way. Is there anything else from a business point of view that you hope that initiatives like this will do, or is there any other sort of points that you want to make from an internal message that would be relevant?
So, I mean, from my point of view, I want our technologist community, and I want our broader engineering community and our supply chain communities to all be ready to learn what we're going to learn from this, so to me it's all about being open and ready to accept that other companies, other providers can have ideas that are different from ours, that in certain circumstances are better than ours. That's what it's all about, and so I just, let's get our heads up.
So the mission now
look over the
becomes-
horizon rather than being heads down. That's where I am.
I think, and that could be a good summary of, it's realigning that mission of, we're not expecting you to solve every issue, but we do expect you to be open-minded enough to spot a good solution when one gets put in front of you and think, well, hang on a minute, I can steal that and use this in a new way and make that work for me.
Yep.
So I think it's a
And
win-win.
and be open to the commercials that are going to need to be put in place to make that happen, because in the end, as I say, that's beneficial for everybody involved. We get better solutions out the door, we get them out the door faster, and we cultivate a better ecosystem of providers.
So for me, it's about being market competitive in the long term. So there is a lot of disruptors. There's a lot of people with vaporware who are saying they can solve these problems. We've got the expertise built on many, many years of solving really difficult challenges. Putting several hundred people to sea in a nuclear submarine hundreds of meters beneath the waves for months and months and months on end is a really difficult challenge. We're really good at it. We've got a lot of knowledge. But that doesn't mean to say that we're necessarily adopting the emergent and disruptive tech in the way we can. So actually, there's a good mating of the two capabilities.
A trade-off there and a learning exercise.
And being able to demonstrate that we're doing that helps us to keep the vaporware salesman at the door. And we can say, yes, that's interesting, but this is what we're actually doing. This is real capability, and this will move to frontline operations. And that, I think, is a credibility that is something really special about a company like BAE.
So if someone is interested and they want to ask questions, or they think, well, hang on a minute, I've got some challenges, who should they talk to about this?
So Chris Binney runs the Common Software Program, and that's the program that's responsible for the Codathon. So I'd get in touch with Chris.
Well, I wish you loads of luck with it. I'm going to stay involved all the way through, and I'm really excited to see what it brings up. So thanks for joining us.
Thank you very much indeed.